Good afternoon, everybody. Welcome to Networking Thursday. It is January 26, 2023. We're very glad you're with us this afternoon. Please note this event is being recorded and is currently live on Facebook. The recording will be on the Career DFW Facebook page and the Career USA YouTube channel for others to view in the future. By participating in this event, you give consent for your name and picture to appear. Please note that any comments you put in the Zoom chat window will not appear in the recording. For those people on Zoom, if you have any questions throughout the presentation, please just enter them in the chat box. For those watching on Facebook, welcome and thank you for joining us. Just put your questions into the comment field and we will get those questions answered for you at the end of the presentation. Also, if you'd like to network with everybody else who's out on the call, go ahead and put in your contact information. Tell us who you are, what you do, put in your LinkedIn profile, and because this is all about networking. It's all about connecting with other people. And at least you ought to connect with other people who are on the call today to expand your connections. Well, good afternoon, everybody. My name is Jeff Morse. Back in 2008, I started a website called careerdfw.org. In 2012, I started a second website, careerusa.org. I have written a book called What I've Learned About Your Job Search You May Not Know. It is available on Amazon, or if you see me in person, I always have copies with me. I have been, since 2007, been facilitating and leading the North Dallas Plano Career Focus Group. The group's been around since the late 1990s. I took it over in 2007. We have a great program coming up tomorrow morning. I'll tell you all about it at the end of this presentation. And since 2017, I've been a member of the Practice Interview Team. Remember, Practice Interview Team is the pit crew. Remember, your resume and your LinkedIn profile doesn't get you a job. What it gets you is a phone call. How well you practice your interviewing skills, that's what's going to get you your next job. Well, for every session for Networking Thursday, we have a different speaker talking about networking. You can see here we've had a huge list of people here over the last couple of years. Today, our speaker is Mark McDonald. He's going to talk about networking with a purpose. Mark was the facilitator of the Practice Interview Team, the PIT crew. He's been on medical leave of absence here recently. This is a pre-recorded session from what he did a while back. So if you have any questions, just please put them in the chat box and we'll be glad to talk about them at the end of this presentation.
Networking with purpose or with a purpose, but I say with purpose in general. And it's all about finding the job that's right for you. It also has the side effect of shortening your job search if you're very focused about what you're looking for. But the way I come at this is this is kind of a question you don't have to answer. Kind of tell me. I learned this from a recruiter who I can't remember now. It was Andy Cook, maybe. Might have been Andy Cook. If you guys hear her speak. She always asks her candidates, people who come to her, tell me what is important to you in your next position. So I think this is a very critical question because you may have been laid off, you're between jobs, but now you have an opportunity to find something that's perfect for you. Not guaranteeing that you will, but if you don't try, it's not going to happen. And so what is it that's important to you in your next position? And then the next, kind of rhetorical question is, what are you going to do about it? What are you going to do about finding a job that fits you like a glove? And, what size glove do you need, right? What color, what size, so think about that and put that in the context of what we're going to talk about today. So, I'm mainly involved with Jeff on Wednesday afternoons with the Interview Wednesday. And of course, Walt Glass and I think that may be the next slide. Let's see here. Nope. Walt Glass and I put together a 13-part session on interviewing. And in 2 of the parts, we talked about networking. And so now Jeff has taken it and converted it into, every other week, which is great because it deserves more attention than just a session every 6 or 7 weeks or so. But when I came to this, I was thinking, why do more people not network, because the statistics are really, really forceful. They tell a strong message that networking can really help you land much quicker and, of course, find a better position, a better match for you. So here's some data, and I'm going to talk about this in my presentation. 70 to 85% of jobs are not posted. Okay, and so we'll talk about that. That doesn't mean they aren't known, that somebody knows about them, but quite a few are not posted. And I'll give you a good example, just one example of why that might be the case. And then most people spend a lot of time searching for work on job boards or cruising the about pages or the career pages on companies that are close by where they work, where they live. But almost half of the jobs are filled through referrals. They're not filled from people who came out of the applicant tracking system. They're filled by referrals. So how do you become a referral? Good question. How do you become a referral? 700% of those landing jobs, networking dominated other job search methods on a scale of 7 to 1. And so you'll see this when Jeff, if you go to Jeff's Friday meeting, we always have landings. And the majority of time, those landings were found through some sort of networking opportunity. Somebody they knew before, an old boss, maybe somebody they met and struck up a conversation with. So, 7 placements out of 7 placements, only 1 is not going to involve some type of networking. And then finally, job searches that use referrals, only about searchers, right? People like you who are searching positions, only pursue and use referrals about 7% of the time. So there's a big disconnect here. So I was wondering and thinking about why this is the case, why so few people pursue networking and getting referrals when it's such an effective way to find your next job. And all the evidence points to that. So what I did was I came up with this super slide. And the first time I made this, it was a build. It started out small and got bigger and bigger and bigger and bigger. And this is the last version of it. So we're going to start here and end here. And then in between, we're going to back up and look at each section of this. But this is my approach to this question, is to help put in context all the ways networking can help you. And that involves having target companies as well, and informational interviews, and getting access to the hidden job market, and dealing with the applicant tracking system and the black hole, and being a better interviewer. It's all wrapped up in one big picture. And you've probably, if you've been in the job search for any amount of time, you've probably had someone come and talk to you or about each one of these pieces, about networking all by itself, about target companies all by itself, about informational interviews all by itself, about how to get yourself out of the black hole as a separate topic. But we're going to touch on each one of these briefly today in the whole context of why it's good for your job search and finding that position that's just perfect for you. And then once you've found it, actually prevailing as the top candidate in that role. So like I said before, if you guys have any questions, just unmute your mic. I can't see Carlos here for some reason. Hang on. I guess the way I've got it set up.
Sorry about that. I'm sorry about that. I was driving.
Oh, okay. Well, that's good. There we go. Eric, Carlos. Okay. Welcome, guys. Yeah, if you have any questions, we've got some others that may have their video turned off. Okay, so let's go through all of this, and let's start right here at the top. Okay, so you're in the green car, and we're going to travel around this circle, and we're going to first talk about networking. And let me just introduce some language here, because networking is about meeting people. You may have a whole bunch of people in your LinkedIn that you may not know very well. Okay, so when we used to meet face-to-face at Frisco Connect, for instance, a speaker would get up and he'd always tell the entire group, if you do this on your phone, everybody in the room will appear on your LinkedIn, and you can add them to your network right then and there. Okay, so you might add 20 or 25 people to your network, none of which you've ever had a conversation with, but they're job seekers, and a bigger network can give you an advantage. So you do it. Okay, but so we call those people that you may not know very well contacts. Okay, contacts, and you're going to try to convert those contacts into something more. Okay, and so I'm not going to talk a lot about this, but there's a Jay Arbetter talks a lot about how to do this, and Jeff will probably tell you at the end the next time Jay's going to be speaking to this group. But he's probably the best speaker I've seen, best storyteller, very memorable, and he talks about how he learned to network, and how much difficulty he had in his first few jobs until he found a job that depended on networking. He became a really good networker. And so he's going to tell you how to do it. And he talks about this concept of taking your contacts, people you meet, and turning them into, or nurturing them, or just recognizing that they are people who can help you out. And so you're going to meet a lot of people, the people that you have some sort of natural connection with, something in common with, and it doesn't have to be work. And it could be your church, could be your children's activities, could be my parents. We're in a bridge group. All of their adult lives they played bridge, mainly with people from church, but it was once a month they'd all get together. It was a huge group, like 24 of them, 6 4-person tables. So just those kinds of things. And Jay Arbetter's thing was cycling. He's a very avid cyclist. And so he met some people through cycling who initially were just contacts, people he just happened to meet out on a ride. But later, they developed into having something in common, the cycling, and those people became connections or supporters. And as they get stronger and stronger, they can become advocates and champions. There's several different words to describe them. But what we're talking about is who are the people that you meet who can really help you out. And you may have to meet quite a few people to get yourself a reasonably good sized group of connections or supporters. And so this is where the job search is so much like sales. People will tell you that you're selling yourself. Finding a job is like sales. And my experience with sales was, this is it. You meet a lot of people. Some of them, never turn into anything. Some of them are not really interested. It doesn't go beyond the short conversation that you had. But a few that you meet, you will find out through your conversation that you have something in common. Those people will grow into a deeper relationship and then become your supporters, people willing to help you find a new job. Okay, so that's one of the reasons you're networking, is to develop that list of connections and supporters. And you may, just accept it. You're going to go through a lot of people who don't call you back. Okay, but you only need really a handful, and certainly the right person in the right place can make all the difference in the world. So you just don't know. You have to talk to a lot of people and put an effort into this. And then we're going to talk in a second about, it's not a random walk, it's focused on certain companies. And what does this give you? What's the advantage of doing this kind of networking? Is you get access to the hidden job market. So these people are thinking about you in terms of finding another position for you, and they keep their ears up, and they may even, depending on how how strong your connection is, they may even become an advocate for you, kind of actively searching through their friends and the people they meet, their next door neighbors, people across the street, other people that they interact with in the group that doesn't include you, to see if there's jobs available for you, and to push you forward through no effort of your own, except for this common connection that you have. And of course, you have this connection, and you do the same for them if they were in that kind of situation. So they give you access to the hidden job market. That's the big advantage of that. Now, let me jump ahead here. Let's talk about the hidden job market for a second and how big it is. Oops, there we go. So I think I thought about this a lot because I was skeptical. Frankly, I was skeptical. People used to say, well, the hidden job market is, 70% bigger than the available job market. And then I thought about it, and I thought about some of my own experience when I was working, and I think it's probably true. I think the hidden job market is 3 times as big as the posted job market. So that means posted job market is 1/4, and the hidden job market is 3/4. And why is that? Why is that? Well, in my company, every fall, usually in September, sometimes in August, we would start our strategic planning cycle for the next year, which would start in January. And it had to be done in September because it was presented to the board of directors in October, and it might be modified or adjusted. And it was, by the end of October, it was in place, and then you could start making plans for January 1. And so that always included staffing additions, or, unfortunately, sometimes reductions in force. But let's talk about the staffing additions. So let's say this is pretty typical. We decide that, we're doing pretty well. And as long as we continue doing well, we're going to hire some more engineers next year, because engineers, are the engine that drives additional products and revenues. And so let's just to make the example simple, let's say we're going to hire 12 engineers next year. And we talk about in the strategic plan, we put down the kinds of people we're looking for, the experience level, and so on and so forth. So that could drive a budget, okay, a budget for those people. And so again, depending on how we were doing, this plan might be modified, but at the strategic point, it's going to be executed. And so there might be 3 allocations per quarter of adding additional engineers. And of course, that helped with the budgeting, right? Because the first 3 were going to be for the whole year, right? The budget for the whole year. And the second 3 would be for 9 months, and so on and so forth, right? So we'd have a plan to hire 12 engineers and start off with 3. And it would be all pretty well detailed, right? This is the kind of people, we want them to do this, they're going to work on these kinds of projects. And so January comes along, probably middle of December or early December, we'd start posting for the first quarters, those 3 people. And if someone came along who was really a good candidate, somebody we liked a lot and could do the job, but not the job that we had a posting for, maybe one of those jobs that were going to come 3 or 6 or 9 months down the line, then it was entirely possible to advance those jobs to the current quarter with approvals, of course, and get them hired, even though we weren't planning to hire them until the second or third or fourth quarter. Okay, so there you go. There's 9 jobs out of 12 that are not posted, but available to the right person, and 3 jobs that are posted. So that's an example of how this happens. Now, it's even more than that. I mean, some companies do not post jobs. There's some expense associated with that. Last time I did it was like $600 to post up a job posting on one of the big boards like DICE. And so they just don't do it. I mean, some companies just totally depend on word of mouth to find their employees, recommendations from their current employees, recommendations from people they've met. They do their own sort of networking, the HR people in those organizations. So they have a good pulse on available people, especially available people in the local area who they don't have to relocate. So some companies just don't, that's just the thing. They just think that's the best way to do it, is through networking themselves. And that's the way so those jobs are never posted, okay? And so that's the way. And then it's also possible, and this has happened in the pit crew, to do some informational interviews, meet some people, start to tell them what you do, and they realize that they need someone like you. And this has happened a couple of times in the pit crew. Most notable was the city of Dallas. Renee Schumann was her name, and she was an actuary, and she worked for a pension company, right? One of the big pension companies, JB Morgan or something like that. And so she had a colleague who was worked for the city of Dallas. They sat down for lunch when she was doing her job search for an informational interview. And she began to realize that she could come to work for the city of Dallas because they didn't have their own actuary on staff. So they basically outsourced, the city of Dallas basically outsourced all of this, all of their retirement plans for the different parts of the city to the vendors that provided those retirement plans. And so Monet pitched them that they could have somebody like, she used to work in one of those companies who could double check and be, the advocate for doing the right thing with these vendors to someone in the city of Dallas who could hire. And they bought it, and they went through the whole process of getting her job posted, approved by the city council. And it took about 6 months, but she created her own job, didn't exist before she pitched it. Similar thing happened at USAA, the cybersecurity expert out of the military, met with someone on lunch again for a informational interview, and they realized that he had some experience that they could use, and they created a position for them. So there's another example of the completely hidden job market available to people who have the right skills at the right time, but no way to know about them unless you do some networking. Okay, so that's the hidden job market, and that's your goal, okay, in your networking, is to get access to that hidden job market. Now, when you do networking, and I'm pretty straightforward about it, and this is the way we do it at the Pit Crew when we meet face-to-face, and hopefully we'll be able to do that again pretty soon. But we have people introduce themselves, and we say, just tell us the title that you're looking for, the title of the job that you're looking for, and a couple of your target companies. So when you're dealing with people you don't know very well, who aren't in your same industry, this is a very simple ask, and it's something they can likely be able to do. All they have to remember is the title and the target companies that you're looking for, and then they can ask their contacts if they're inclined to do so. I know this director of project management, and he's interested if there's any jobs at NTT or Bank of America. Do you know anybody who works there? And as a matter of fact, they may not even remember the title. Okay, you really want them to remember the company. Okay, because once you have a contact inside the company, you can take it from there, right? All you need is the contact and the name. And if they use the title of the job you're looking for, that helps narrow it down a little bit more. Okay. And so now with that information and with that request from so now these are just contacts, right? They may, because they're in job search as well, they may feel some affinity for you. They're certainly going to help you out if they can. It's something you have to repeat though on a regular basis, right? So keep coming back every week and reminding them, you can add to your target company list, or change your target company list, but keep reminding them that you could use some help finding contacts in these certain companies. And then through informational interviews, you're going to develop connections inside your target companies. And so now we're talking about target companies and what kinds of things, you need a contact and you want to do an informational interview. Well, what kind of things are you going to talk about when you have your informational interview? I don't know who's the best speaker on informational interviews. Maybe it's Walt Glass. So if you get a chance to hear Walt speak, he'll go into a lot of detail about these informational interviews. But I just want to say, like this question I asked at the beginning, what do you hope to find in your next position? What are you looking for in your next position? Those are the kinds of things you ask about. How are you going to find out if they're interested in people with your background? You do an informational interview, you find somebody. How are you going to find out, when it says 50% travel, what does that mean? Does that mean you're gone 2 weeks and home 2 weeks? Or does that mean you're, gone 2 nights and home the rest of the week? What does that actually mean? You're going to find out that kind of stuff through informational interviews. And through that process, you're going to meet people who, they can develop an interest in you and a vested interest in giving you access to the hidden job market. Now, when you do an informational interview, you're not asking for a job, right? It's a bit of a different animal. You need your list of your accomplishments and achievements, and you need a biography to explain your point of view, and you're seeking their advice and feedback. You want to compliment these people when you give them a call. Tell them that you've heard or you believe they're an expert in their field, and you're in job transition. You have this opportunity to find your next great place to work, and you just had a few questions for them. Hear Walt Glass speak, and he'll take you through the whole thought process about the kinds of questions you want to ask. But just know that you're trying to gain information and insight about the company, and you're seeking advice and feedback. And when you do this, you start off with this list. You may find that, and this is, I think, reasonably common, but you may find that there's very few people there who are over 30. Okay, so you may have a challenge getting inside that organization if you find that out. And so that's very valuable information, because you don't want to be searching for work in a place where the culture fits. Not going to, be a match. You may also find out that, and this happened to me. I worked for DSC Communications. That was a hard working company. I really liked that. And, everybody there was very motivated. But there was also a place that made quick decisions, and they, would end a project and lay people off, lay off the whole team. Didn't seem very fair, but it was very democratic. If you were in a project that got cut, everybody was cut, no matter how good they were. So, so there's the plus and the minus of that kind of company. And so through informational interviews, you can find things out about their culture. And when I was, looking for work, I was also trying to get out of what I had done before. Okay, I was in the telecommunications equipment market. It started to shrink in 2002 with the big recession in the early 2000s, and it continues to shrink today. It's amazing. It just gets smaller and smaller and smaller. So I was trying to go someplace else. So when I did informational interviews, I talk to the people. I tell them a little bit about my background, and then I ask this question: do you know anyone at your company who has a similar background to mine that I could talk to, right? So then I could find out if they valued people from my industry, because it's going to be a pretty big uphill battle if they didn't, right? I had no way of knowing. There's no way to know unless you find somebody on the inside and get a chance to talk to them. And then you may get a name, and then you can find out when you talk to them, well, is there anyone else? And so through this series of informational interviews, you might find that there's 4 or 5 people in there who have similar backgrounds to you, and that gives you, good hope that when an opportunity comes available, that they would consider, somebody from your industry, somebody with your background, somebody with your skills and abilities to fill that position, even though it's a change of industries. And some industries are notoriously closed, right? Healthcare is an example. They don't take people from the outside, very rarely. You've got to be an insider. That's just the way they believe. Okay. So you've made some contacts. You met some contacts. You've asked for some names. You've done some informational interviews. You've talked to some people inside of the company. You've sought some feedback. You've called your target company list down. You've verified that each one of them has an opportunity for you and would be willing to hire you and has a culture that you're interested in. And so now a job posting appears. Let's see. Pop. Here we go. Okay, so now an application appears, and you've got some options. Okay. The number one option is you can apply, in the blind, so to speak. Just go ahead and apply and put your name in the ATS. You got about a 2% chance of being contacted just by applying in the blind. So 2%. Now, I thought about that number too. And so here's an example from Carol Brickell, approximately. So they post a job. She's a recruiter, and she speaks on a resume Wednesday. She's kind of a resume expert. A resume Thursday, I'm sorry. So next week is Thursday resumes. And so let's say they post up a job and 200 people apply. Okay, so she may go through that list, go to the ATS, and how many of those people is she going to call? Well, she'll tell you she might call 4 or 5. Okay, well, right there's 2%, right? 2%. So that's how it happens to a lot of applications. They just sit there, and the more and more people apply, the lower their percentage gets for that particular application. The other way to think about it is it's one application, they're going to hire one person, right? So it's very low probability that you're that one person unless you get a sponsor on the inside. And so now when that job posting appears and you've had some informational interviews and you've made some developed some supporters inside the company, you can call them up and say, hey, I saw this job posting and we've had a chance to talk. You have a good idea of my what I've done in the past, and I have a good feeling about the company. What should I do with this posting? Okay, and so they may tell you what to do. They may say, well, send me your resume and I'll take it into HR, or I'll take it to the hiring manager. They're likely to say, the most probable thing is they're likely to say is go ahead and apply online and then call and tell me the number that you're given, that assigned, right? The application number. And then they can go to work and refer you through the HR process, okay? And I have a good story from the pit crew about this. And I call it getting into the fast lane, because once you become a referral, then your chances of being contacted go up to 50%, from 2% to 50%. So 1 out of 2. And probably the only reason you might not get a call is they may have already selected someone. But if they haven't already selected one, you have a high probability, I think it's much higher than 50% of being contacted if you come through the referral process. One of the stories from the pit crew is we had a candidate a few summers ago. I remember it was in the summertime, and he tells a story that he'd been in the job search for about 6 months, and early in the job search, he applied for a position at a company. And then this was probably January, February, and so then then in the summertime, he realized through searching on LinkedIn that one of his past colleagues worked at this company that he'd applied for. So he called them up. They had a nice conversation. They caught up, and then he told him that he'd applied for a job there. And so his friend, his colleague, his acquaintance, who I hadn't seen for a while, went into the applicant tracking system, I believe, and put his name on this person's application as being referred by an internal employee, and it was within hours. Within hours, he got a phone call because he'd moved into another category and they hadn't filled that position in several months, right? They were still looking for the right person. So that's how that works, okay? And once you're referred, you have a much better opportunity of being selected. Now, let's just say hypothetically, you don't feel like you've developed somebody, you don't feel like you've got anybody who would sponsor you. You're just not to that point. It's still possible, and this is what you should do. You should try to find out the recruiter who's responsible for that position and give them a call. Just give them a call and tell them, I have what you need, okay? And then, explain that. And you're probably going to end up leaving a message, but if you don't, I have what you need, 2 or 3 things off the job description that you have that they need, and then that can work as well. And if you can't figure out who the right recruiter is, then you can contact, call in and ask to talk to the lead over recruiting, or the HR manager responsible for recruiting, and do the same thing, and they're likely to then tell you who you should talk to. And do the same thing. I mean, you should say, I have what you need for this job posting, and then explain that briefly. and ask who you should talk to, and they'll give you a contact. So now, even though you may not have developed a contact or a connection inside that organization, you can spin one up pretty quickly, assuming don't use this unless it's true, that you have what they need, at least partly. And I would say if you have 50% of what they put on their job description, and some expertise in 2 or 3 things, that's good enough to say you have what they need, because job descriptions are notoriously out of date, probably not written by the current hiring manager. And oftentimes there's things they really need that aren't on the job description. And so you may have those things. You don't know until you get to have a conversation. But go in there with confidence, because you had this list of achievements and accomplishments that you want to talk about with them, and you match up, at least 50% or so to what they put in the job description. So, and that'll get you into that fast lane. Now, I want to talk a little bit about recruiting on this slide. I've got some statistics down at the bottom. Job posting stats. Okay, so these are for the jobs that are posted, not the hidden jobs. 30% of those jobs are filled internally, which is kind of a discouraging number. But if you've been in the job search any length of time, you've probably had a hiring process that culminated in an, oh, we hired the internal candidate, or we promoted the internal candidate. Okay, so that's true. And here's a number that I've heard, which I believe 30% of the time for posted jobs, they're filled by an internal candidate. 40%, so that leaves about 70% of the jobs actually available to outside candidates. Okay, 30% are filled internally, 70% are available to outside candidates. 40% of the posted jobs are filled by internal recruiters. So an internal recruiter is a recruiter that works for the organization, right? An external recruiter, an agency recruiter is an outside recruiter. Doesn't work for the company, but probably, likely has a contract with them. Okay. And that 40% filled by internal recruiters are filled by people they've met, their first connections, or people that are referred to them, their second connections. And those were likely referred by employees, right? So when a new posting becomes available, one of the first things internal recruiters do, they'll send out an email to, company-wide saying, looking for someone to fill this position. Do you have anyone in mind? And they can now bring forward. And so before the job even is posted, posted externally, you may have one of your connections that you met during an informational interview call you up and say, I just got this email from HR and we've got this new posting and it sounds like it might be good for you. So there you go, you get a head start. Not only are you a referral, you get a head start, you get to be one of the first people into the queue. But just remember that internal recruiters are your friends, because they fill 40% of the posted positions, which is more like, half of the available positions. And, having a brief conversation with them at a hiring event, again, when we start meeting face to face, or reaching out to them on LinkedIn and offering an article or something like that. So just something to get your name in front of them, is a worthwhile endeavor to try to build a connection with those internal recruiters. Now, internal recruiters also do use their ATS, okay? About 10% of the opening positions are going to depend on the ATS. And they may start off with the referrals and not find a good candidate, and then they may go to their ATS, but still only 2% or so of the people inside that ATS are ever going to get a call, okay? There's just too many in there for each position. And then that leaves about 20% of the posted jobs to be filled by outside recruiters. And then there's a whole group of usually higher level jobs that are never posted and you may hear about retained recruiters, or what's the word I want to use? Forgot the name of it. But some, pardon?
contingent recruiters?
Yeah, contingent, yeah. So these are recruiters that find people. They find jobs aren't posted, they go and find the right person for the job, right? So it's worthwhile if you, I put this in here because building relationships with recruiters, understanding if they're internal, external, and how they work is a worthwhile endeavor, okay? Especially, so now when you have your list of target companies and you've got that narrowed down to a manageable handful, you can spend some time, nurturing the recruiters, see if they'll, spend a little bit of time with you. And you might give them a call. For instance, if you find a job description that maybe is old, but you were a good match for, just call them up. And again, use this kind of keyword phrase, I have what you need, or I have what you needed a few months ago, and then say why. And you're helping them out. You're giving them valuable information about your candidacy, which they can access if another position becomes open. Keep top of mind. All right, now you get one more thing out of this networking and the informational interviews is you gain information and insight about the company that the other candidates just cannot know. Okay, if they haven't done the kind of work that you've done to build these connections inside the organization, they just do not know things that you will know. And so when you get the chance to interview, you're interviewing with an advantage, okay, with some inside information about the culture of the organization. And if it's all positive to you, you've got some very specific things that motivate you to go to work for that company. And motivation, in the end, your motivation to come to work for any particular, a company and do a particular job is at least half, if not more, of the choice. Okay, because the way the hiring process works is they'll screen out in the beginning of the process. They'll screen out the people who are not technically acceptable. They don't have the minimum requirements. Can they do the job? Will they do the job? Can I manage them? Those are the three questions they're trying to ask. And so people will be weeded out because they don't believe they can do the job. And in the end, there'll be 2 or 3 candidates who would all be acceptable. And it's going to be more of an analysis or a feeling about how you fit within the company, how motivated you are to come to work for them. And so with some inside information, you're going to be in a good position to explain that in a believable fashion and really mean it, right? And really mean it. You don't have any doubt in your mind because you've had answers to your questions from the people you've met inside the company. And there you go, shortens your job search, helps you find that job that's a perfect fit for you. So there's my networking spill. Anybody have any questions? Here we go.
Yeah, you have a couple of them. Carlos asks, what if an insider claims that he doesn't know what to do to help you get your name on the list? What would be a good suggestion for him?
Oh yeah, so that's when you just hesitant. Well, I would suggest, well, 2 steps here. I would suggest, you would have to ask them a question. I mean, are you willing to find out, right? Because they may just not feel comfortable recommending you, and so that's kind of a dead end for you. But the next follow-on question would be, are you willing to find out? Would it be possible for you to find out? And a lot of times they're going to get a bonus for this if they refer a candidate that's hired. So you may mention that as well. But that's one branch, okay? Just give them a chance to figure it out. Give them, a day. But if it's a dead end and you don't have any other backup, then you're trying to locate the recruiter and have a conversation with the recruiter for that position. And if you can't locate the recruiter, then you want to, talk to the head recruiter, give them your brief spiel, and then ask them who you should talk to next. If you've got what they need, they'll be interested in helping you out. So.
All right, Matthew asks, is it recommended to always put a person's name for the referral if you know someone from inside the company?
Is it recommended? Yeah, I would think you would want to put that on there. If you know they're going to give you a good recommendation, right? If you believe they're going to give you a good recommendation.
I mean, you want to make sure that the other person knows that you're putting your name. I would check with that other person, say, hey, I see this job opening. Is it okay if I list your name as an inside contact?
Perfect.
Yeah. All right, Carlos also asked, is LinkedIn Premium a good way to get in touch with recruiters?
What do you think, Jeff? I don't know.
I wouldn't spend the money on it myself. I don't think it's worthwhile. I think everything you need to, first of all, if a recruiter is using the LinkedIn recruiting package, they don't, when they look for you, you'll never know they're looking at you. Okay, so it's not going to do you any benefit because they're looking from up above, accessing all the data that's in LinkedIn. So it's you don't get to see up what they're looking at. If a recruiter, I mean, the only benefit that I can see really is the only benefit would be is that you have an opportunity to see who looked at your profile. So if you're looking at, right now, if you have the free version, it says that 6 people have looked at your profile in the last week or whatever. You don't really get to see who those people are. With the one version up, it gives you a little bit more. I've heard that really the version you want to, if you're going to spend money, there's a version that's like $50 a month. That's the version that you want to have because that gives you more in-mails and more ability to go and do the research. But, most people don't pay anything. You just want to make the most important thing about LinkedIn is you want to have a complete profile. You want to make it easy for recruiters to find you. You want your phone number, your email address, and lots of keywords so that they know what it is you do when they put a search in for a Scrum Master, that you'll pop up because you have Scrum listed 6 or 7 times in your profile.
Yeah, and another good way to build your network is to join organizations, assuming you qualify, because you are able to send email to anyone in those organizations once you've been accepted. So that's a good way to expand that ability without paying for it. Any other questions?
All righty, that is Mark's presentation. I want to thank Mark a lot for presenting and talking about, networking. I mean, that's a massive little chart PowerPoint that he put together. If anybody has any questions, we can answer those now. I didn't see anything in the chat window, but if you got any questions, we'd be glad to answer those right now before we wrap up. Questions, comments?
I have a quick comment. I know somebody was talking about LinkedIn Premium. One of the things that also gives you with premium, maybe not necessarily related to this, but you can also do some trainings while we're out. You can always do some trainings that are available there. You can get like little certificates for doing that, but more so as the experience rather than certificates.
Right. LinkedIn Learning is available with the premium version, but if you want to get it for free, go to your local public library, get a public library card, and most public libraries offer LinkedIn Learning or whatever it was called. Whatever it was called before LinkedIn bought it. And you can find those for totally free at your public library. So there's a lot of great training out there. I can't think of what the name of it was. I had it on the tip of my tongue and I forgot what it was. But yeah, I know the Dallas Public Library offers it. I know Plano offers it. And I'm sure a lot of other public libraries around the country offer it also. Oh, there you go, Linda. Yes, thank you, Jane. Lynda.com. So LinkedIn bought Lynda, paid Lynda several $1 million and or even more money. I'm not really sure how much. And yeah, you can get lynda.com for free at your local public library. Great training sessions. What else can we offer for somebody? Any questions, comments? Thank you, Rico, for that. All right, well, let me just share a couple more slides. We will get out of here this afternoon, a little bit before the top of the hour. A Career DFW and Career USA, we're putting on training 4 days a week. Please join us. Tomorrow morning, as I mentioned, we've got a great presentation, how to be a better brand. This is all about branding yourself. This is part 2 of 2. We did part 1 last Friday, but the first 15-20 minutes of Fred's presentation this week will be a review. So you don't have to go back and watch last week's unless you want to. If you do want to watch it, you can go on the YouTube channel and you can find last week's presentation. Next Tuesday for LinkedIn Tuesdays, LinkedIn from a Recruiter's Eye will be with Kurt Vondermatter. Kurt is a retained search consultant. He is paid to find you. He pays LinkedIn the big bucks to pay for the full-blown recruiting package, the package that you'll never know that he's looking at you, but he'll show us some searches, he'll show us what's going on, and he will show us how to make LinkedIn, how to make sure your profile is searchable and how he'll find you in the things that he does. So it's really an interesting, behind the scenes, open the curtains up to see how LinkedIn is used from a recruiting package. Next Wednesday for Interviewing Wednesdays, distinctive interviewing. Walt Glass will be with us. He'll be with us live. He'll do his presentation live next Wednesday. Next Thursday, effective resumes being the first Thursday of the month. It's hard to believe we're already going to be in February already. We'll talk about effective resumes. And if you'd like to join the Career DFW or Career USA LinkedIn groups, great way to network. You want to network with other people. Just today, we passed 14,400 members. So we've got over 14,000 members that you're able to connect with and network with and see who else is out there. So please, you don't have to live in the DFW area to join that group. I just happened to start each one of these LinkedIn groups when I started each of the websites. The session has been recorded. You will be able to go back and watch it on the Career DFW Facebook page or the Career USA YouTube channel. On the Career USA YouTube channel, be sure to click on playlists because I've got over 420, 430 videos up there right now. By clicking on playlist, you'll be down to one of 7 different playlists. Pick the one you want. So networking is the one over there, and they rotate through. So every time you call up the screen, it's going to look a little bit different. But if you want the networking one, down where that red arrow is, click on View Full Playlist, and you'll see a list of events. If you want to see last Friday's presentation for Be a Better Brand, just go to the North Dallas Plano Career Focus Group Speaker playlist, click on Playlist, and then you should be able to see last Friday's presentation dated January 20th, 2023. And then here's what that list, when you hit View Full Playlist, you can scan and you can find the list that you're interested in. If you're not receiving emails about our workshops, please join the Career USA mailing list. Just send an email to Career USA, the + subscribe at groups.io. You will not be spammed, but what you will get is the topic of the day, the title of the day, and most importantly, the Zoom link of the day. That way you can join us as we get going here. Please remember, Career DFW, we're a 501c3 nonprofit organization. All of our speakers are volunteer. I'm a volunteer. Everything I've done to help you over the last 14 years has just been to help you land your next great opportunity. So thank you very much for joining us today, everybody. Have a great Thursday, and hopefully we'll see you tomorrow morning.
Thank you, Jeff.
Thank you.